All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me all good?
Yes.
I'd like to call to order the County of Ulysses Comp Plan Steering Committee meeting for July 2nd, 2025. I'd like to start with a roll call. And Roxanne, you want to start? I'll start at that end of the table.
Roxanne Marino, Conservation Sustainability Advisory Council.
Thank you.
Karen Metter. I'm on this committee and also the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Carl Pankowski, this committee and planning board.
Mo Klein, this committee and planning board.
Neil Stegeson, town planner.
Liz Weatherby.
Yeah. I'm not just a squatter. I thought that was anyway.
Town board member and comp plan steering committee member. And I see we have Molly and Angelina on as well. We can let folks kind of introduce themselves once they get in as people roll in too, but we'll start with the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda that was presented?
Yes.
Yes.
And does that agenda look good? Anybody have any proposed changes, additions, modifications?
None for me.
I'll approve the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second that. Oh, you got it.
All right, so we have a motion to approve in a second. Pending anything else, we'll vote to approve.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right,
Aye. All right. So agenda's approved. Our first order of business then will be to review the past minutes. Did everybody get a chance to review the minutes from our June meeting?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And everybody here was in attendance at that meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Can we
Roxanne?
approve minutes if we don't have a quorum? I mean, not even close.
we have a quorum.
There's like 10 people on this committee.
All you need is 4.
I thought a quorum is
3.
50.
It's 50 plus
1%.
1.
Yeah.
So you can either table it, but under New York law, you don't have to approve minutes. So, but if you want to, you can table it till next time.
Just asking. I mean, it seems like very few of the
Well, then
people
I'll
who
make
are
a
at the
motion
meeting
to
are
table it
here.
the next meeting.
Yeah, I guess I would
Yeah, we
do that just because, yeah. There's
Have a
fewer people
second?
here. I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor to table the review of our June meeting minutes till our August meeting? And all of those in
Yes.
favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Well, that takes care of that business. I cannot tell, so I'm gonna need some help. Is there anybody sitting in the person for the privilege of the floor?
No,
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 Okay,
and you're the only one online. So.
and I'm the only one online. All right.
I'll make a motion to close privilege of the floor.
I'll second
Okay.
it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, this is moving along quick. So now I know we had 3 chapters that we reviewed in June. We provided additional time on those chapters for folks to get a better look and read through them. Those were housing, historic, including 2 other chapters from May, but that's housing, historic preservation and built environment, economic development, environment and natural resources, and climate change and resiliency. MRB, do you have an update on those chapters? Was everybody able to get their reviews in with that additional time? And what's kind of the status and next steps for those chapters?
Yeah, so it looks like for economic development, the built environment, and for housing, we're just wrapping up those chapters. So we are looking to put those in the shared folder by the end of next week, so people can kind of look at their final view of it to make sure that they're okay with sharing it out with everyone, so you guys can kind of let us know via email after you take a look. We'll certainly announce it to you all that those are in there available for review, and then let us know your thoughts, your comfort level, if you're comfortable with, you know, sharing with your respective committees. So that's the plan for those three.
Sorry, Angela, did you say by the end of next week?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think one comment that I just kind of wanted to run by you guys, because I actually wasn't sure, so. For the economic development chapter, so it looks like there was a comment about an industrial park. Somebody had brought up the Brown Road Tech Industrial Park as an example. Of why it could hurt rather than help. I'm not sure if anyone in here particularly made that comment, but I think they just wanted more information of, you know. Is there like a backstory to it, or, you know, should she revise it to just for the recommendation to consider identifying an industrial site? Potentially,
We really don't have a spot here in Ulysses because most industrial sites would want sewer and water.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
we really don't have that anywhere in the town.
okay, so I think that's what her next question of, like, if that's the case, do we just wanna get rid of that recommendation potentially?
Yeah,
I didn't sense a huge amount of support for that recommendation at the last discussion,
mm,
Yeah,
at all, really,
Yeah.
but, and there wasn't much support in the survey at all. As you
I was gonna
pointed
say,
out.
I didn't see it like brought up as like a major concern or something
Yeah.
that somebody was like asking for, so that's why I figure I would ask you all. Just what your thoughts were on it, because, you know, if we don't think it's relevant, you know, that we don't need it, then we can take it out.
yeah,
Well,
I
I
don't,
think there's variety of industrial like development that we might be opening ourselves up to too. I mean, industrial could be heavy manufacturing, industrial could also just be light manufacturing, such as maybe like solar panels or Renovus might be considered like an industrial more than commercial. I think that reference to that Brown plant, I don't have the backstory there. I don't know if anybody else there does. I think that's in Ithaca. And I think
Yeah.
that's something that's kind of like fallen apart and now there's just buildings there, maybe like sitting empty. And I don't think we want that.
mm,
Where it's
Right.
like something's built for one type of industry and then nothing else can come in.
right. And that happens to a lot of industrial parks where people move out and nobody can afford to move in, so they just leave it empty.
So I think that was the comment, if I remember, and I don't recall who from the meeting brought that up. I do think that's something we don't necessarily haven't been seeing the support for in any of our surveys or outreach.
Awesome, okay, yeah, that was the clarification that our economic development team member was just looking for, just to make sure that we were representing that correctly, so. That answers that question.
I mean, we have other sorts of businesses that we talk about and that we might incorporate into a definition of something. But
Well,
it's
yeah,
different than an
businesses-
industrial park, yeah.
Yeah, businesses, local businesses is what we're
Right.
trying to promote.
Or like what we have in the current zoning, you know, is
Yeah,
business
exactly.
and light, whatever.
And you might still have any of those businesses set up individually. I think the park increases risk that you end up like the situation in Ithaca where you have a lot of buildings built for a specific purpose. Maybe they have some obsolescence to them and they don't have a replacement use. And it's very obvious on the landscape when it's a whole park versus if it's like one business on a street that goes out of business, it's not going to be as maybe obviously negative.
And
Right.
we do have in our zoning, I think it's 5,000 square feet.
the OTMU area.
Yeah, it's a 5,000 square foot, so it's a moderate sized business.
Yeah, like I said, she was wanting that clarification just so she can wrap that up, make sure it's represented correctly of, you know, what the committee was thinking, so. She'll make that edit, and then like I said, those 3 chapters will be in the shared folder, we'll make an announcement to y'all.
Mhm.
By that.
So the edit being taken out, is that what you're saying?
For that one,
Yeah, the industry park,
yeah,
yeah.
cause the other edits that
And
you
these
guys
are gonna-
all, oh, go ahead.
No, you can go finish and I'll say.
Oh, I was just saying, the other comments that you guys had all put in there up until the 18th, those are the comments that we addressed, so.
And all I was gonna say is if there is something or if that trigger, like having a statement or that we don't want or we do want industrial businesses or parks or whatever it might be bring up some conversations at the open house too.
For sure.
Can get more feedback on what people are looking for and not looking for in the town.
Definitely. And then
All right.
climate change, resilient, oh, sorry.
Nope, I was gonna say, what about the other three?
Yeah, so climate change and resiliency and natural resources, I figured we could take time. I know Roxanne had a chance to kind of do a deeper dive and provide some comments. I figured we could talk about some of her comments for those chapters. And then we also, in the shared folder, we have the community well-being and the transportation folder that were shared. I believe Eric shared those out with you all. I know not everyone had the chance necessarily to make comments, you know, people were away or they didn't get to it, which is understandable, you know, they all have a lot going on, so I can make an extension, if that's helpful. I was thinking until the 18th, if people want to make additional comments on transportation and for community well-being. I just wanted to gauge what everyone's comfort level was with that, because I certainly didn't want to rush through that.
I got through them this afternoon, so.
Okay, yeah, I saw your comments, I know we have quite a few people that still need to go through or they didn't do as deep of a read as they would have liked to, so I just wanna make sure. I accommodate those folks.
Yeah, cause Caitlin's even this afternoon said she'd get through them next week, so the 18th, I think.
Would probably be
Allows
better.
the extra time.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I do remember from our other meeting that we were saying like 4 chapters to really talk about is a lot in one meeting, and
Oh,
that we
yeah.
didn't much get to talk about the climate and the natural resources, because enough people hadn't had time to read it, because we only got it like 1 week ahead.
And that
And
is
so
important.
those were gonna be kind of the core, as I understood it, of this meeting, and then if we had time, the other ones. So I didn't kill myself to try to comment on those
Sure,
newer two, just because I thought that's gonna be a lot in one meeting anyway, so that was how I understood things.
okay,
So I would definitely appreciate it to have more time, like 18th or so, makes sense, I think.
okay,
Yeah, I
Yes.
think if you're able to, if that doesn't cause a huge issue for you guys and drafting the review, I think additional time would be good, especially since there are a lot of folks missing today.
for sure, yeah, that's fine on our end, so we can do that.
Thank you.
And I think it's important that we have time to, like, the committee feels like they have time to think about stuff, talk about stuff. Even if it takes longer, because it's important to get it right, it's a plan for 2045 or whatever, so.
When is the time schedule for this to be totally completed and presented?
I think Neil's initially was thinking.
Oh, yeah, he's smiling, so he doesn't know.
Well, the
But we have
part
a
of it's
plan.
open house, so the idea is that all of the draft chapters
Yeah.
and supporting evidence, maps and all that stuff would be ready before the second open house, which we
It's
thought was
in
gonna be in
October.
September, October. so-
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Tough
Yeah, it's gonna get
for
tight.
October, that's for sure.
Yeah,
But I think it's just really, I mean, I don't wanna be on this committee forever for sure, but I think no one does, I know. But I think if you're doing it and we're putting the time in, it's important.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So,
if we have to push it back a month, we could always push it back a month.
For sure,
Yeah,
yeah, I
okay.
certainly want you guys to feel comfortable, be able to have time to, you know, provide your thoughts and, you
Mhm.
know. To Carl's
Oh, yeah,
point,
yeah.
do
Yeah,
it
yeah,
right,
yeah.
so if you feel like, hey, maybe we need to just like slow it back a little bit, just so we can really. You know, take our time
Okay,
and make, you know, quality comments, like I'm more than okay with that.
seems like the summer's presenting a bit of a challenge to people, more than perhaps they hoped. Now that we're in it,
summer's always a tough time.
it is, it really is. I have one general question about the forward plan. Are we making, I guess maybe it's when we get to the land use chapter, is part of what's gonna come out of this a future land use map, like before? Like, I mean, the other comp plan, I'm not saying it would look the same, but
All-
will the comp plan contain a future land use map that's very generalized? Not super specific like a zoning map, but
Yes.
Yeah.
Comp plans,
do that,
Yep.
right? And I just want to know if we were planning to do that.
yep, and
Yeah.
that's, will come with discussion with the land use element.
Okay, but in that, that is gonna be a map that's gonna be part of the draft.
Just, yeah, and that'll be a discussion that's like kind of patched out.
Cause it seems like it kind of, when I listen to this, it connects to all the other things we're talking about, like an industrial park, for example, like where one put it, there really isn't a place, that would make sense. It's not a huge town, and so like
Well, when we
the
get,
land use is gonna be all the way at the end of all of this other stuff. And
when Paul picks up the new map, like we have it here, we can look at the areas and say, this is good for residential, this is good for business, this is good for whatever. Because we'll have it,
Right,
and-
but putting in things that we should just have a thought as to size of the town and where things could go while we're talking about what goes
Yeah.
into the chapters is all I'm
And do
thinking.
you think it would be helpful, and just think as like an exercise, do you think it would be helpful, sorry not to get like totally off topic, to have maybe
My fault.
like the previous future land use map, like in comparison with maybe the map that you have, and we can kind of like mark it up and like
Yeah.
make our future land use map?
Well, that's why Mo was talking here earlier before. I've got 3 foot by 4 foot versions of that map coming out here. And to put like a plexiglass cover on it so we could use dry ease markers, as a markup board, and we start getting into that, then
Right.
we can. If we, first pass, and if we don't like that, erase it and move it.
That's true, that, I was gonna say, I'd offer to print like a large one, like an east side one, if you want me to as well, we could, use
Yeah,
different
well-
markers, but it's nice to erase it if you're.
do you have a printer that will do that?
Yeah, we have a plotter.
Do you have the,
Well, I'll
The
have
file,
these
don't
already
you?
done. Yeah, I've got
well, for
Why,
markup,
she's already got it.
oh, she does. Oh,
Yeah, we
okay.
sent it to her electronically.
Oh,
every
okay,
week.
okay, so you have it.
So if you'd like us to print that, like I said, like a large east side,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have like packs, we can like put it up,
Hmm.
that's another option too. But the plexiglass sounds cool,
Yeah.
that, like you said.
I'll see what I can fix up for us here.
Yeah, for sure.
And on this one, there are others that. Interestingly, we asked for the different versions of the streams maps for the town. Those are proving much more difficult than the GIS group to try and put together. They're,
Yeah, it's tricky. I know our GIS team, I think, is doing that too, just with like the newer
Yeah.
DC data that came out this
Right.
year, so.
and it's because the base maps are so far back. That they really don't have good ways of getting into them and breaking out the parts and pieces they need. Even their first cut at the USGS stuff ended up with all the perennial streams and a few intermittents in the western part of the town and none on the lake shore. So. Anyway. Yes,
Yeah.
let's
I
continue on.
know,
So I'll,
Yeah,
by next
no.
time I'll have one of that one that we can work
Hmm.
with. For markup versions, but certainly any other things like that, if you
For
bring
sure.
in the big version so that we can.
So we can do that.
Okay.
Will you include the
Okay.
development
Yeah.
district?
I know it's a,
Just the development districts? Yeah, we can do like a zoning map,
No, I.
the.
Separate from the
Yeah,
zoning
he sent me
map,
the
the
map.
town
I don't know
has
if he sent me the
development
file.
districts currently, I think there's 4 or 5,
Because
More than
I
five.
can actually mark it up.
7.
7, excuse me.
Yeah,
A
we can do
few
that.
parts,
We should
but-
check that.
Yeah, because that is where some of the industrial uses
Residential.
are.
Do that. And then were you gonna say something, Liz? I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, I know later on in the agenda, we have talking about and thinking about the land use. So I think, like the land use sections in terms of the review, I like the idea of having kind of like a work session with some maps. So we can talk about the timing of that, because I also want to make sure we got a quorum and a good mix of all of the representatives of our comp plan steering committee there. And I'm wondering if maybe August is not the right time. So, but we can get into that discussion in a little bit once we get
Sure.
to like the next steps.
Yeah. It's me.
So, and Diane, I see you joined us. Welcome. Sorry, I'm
you.
in Buffalo at a baseball game. So I'm not there in person. All right, is there anything, so now that we've spoken about kind of the 3 chapters that we had reviewed previously. Do we want to dive into any additional comments on the climate change, risk, resiliency, natural resources and environment chapters?
Yeah, because I know we got some additional comments there, so I figured we could take some time tonight to kind of talk about those. So
Okay.
we can start with the environment and natural resources element. One thing I wanted to talk about, and I know Roxanne brought it up, and I think Liz, you might have brought this up as well. When we're talking about in the beginning, when we're giving the background information and different relevant plans that apply to the chapter, that, you know, maybe it makes more sense to bullet it out and not have to write, you know, the summary each time. Roxanne had an idea of maybe we put that in the intro section and have a summary there of all of those plans, and then maybe we can just bullet the relevant ones in each chapter. That just might make it a little bit more concise for each element. Just want to get everyone else's thoughts on that. I think that might be helpful for all the chapters if we
Yeah.
organize them that way, just to, like I said, keep it concise.
Cause it's about a page and a half or 2 pages every
Yeah,
time.
just cut it down.
Each of
It's in the
these things.
beginning, so it's very distracting because you haven't come close to getting to the point of
Right,
the
to the
chapter.
potatoes,
You
yeah.
know, and so like, I feel
We can
like
do that.
if we just have that once, here's everything that we thought. I was looking at our old one and a couple of other ones, and that was kind of done in an intro chapter. Here's all the documents that were looked at, and then if there's specific ones that really inform this chapter, we just
For sure.
have a bullet.
Cause at least one of them, there was like a 2007 and a 2009, and it kind of alternates back and forth. And I think if you put them all in one spot, you won't get typos or repeats, or you can
Sure,
look at it
sure.
and figure out and say, oh, these are the real ones.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we'll
Yeah.
get the same
And
ones
I
every
think we had
time.
the idea of hyperlinks. I don't know how we felt about that, if we wanted to include that like in the intro part when we're describing them, or if we wanted it like at the end and we just have a resources page that has hyperlinks to things.
I think I would put it in the resources page rather than
I agree.
cluttering the beginning.
Yeah,
right,
If you.
because I didn't want it to be like overwhelming either. so-
Right.
right.
I would agree with that. Focus on the context, then there's definitely, like, I definitely want to make sure that there's additional resources for folks to get and dug into more if they want to. But we wanna
Definitely.
keep them focused, the reading on this at least for now.
Great. Awesome. And then I think another formatting question, I just wanted to check in about, I know for when we're talking about, the implementation part of it, so I had been pulling from the exercise. If you remember what we did in the fall, we did an audit basically of, I pulled all of the policies, from the last comprehensive plan, from different policy actions, and basically you all had comments of, you know, this has been done, or this is the progress that's been made, things like that. So I had captured it as a table, basically the same way we had it in, I don't know, was it EndNote, SharePoint? I can't remember the exact platform it was on, but basically I have put it into a table and I put it into the Word document. So I just wanted to see, like, do we like that type of table? Do we just want to do a summary instead? I know there's a lot of things where it's like, we didn't necessarily know the status, or maybe there wasn't as much progress, and maybe we can just do a broader summary of, you know, here's what's been done, and maybe here's what could be done in the future.
There's a table that's stands alone that's going to be in the intro.
So it's been in other sections, maybe it's not necessarily
There's
in that chapter.
no table in this chat.
Not in that chapter, but I know in the other chapters we've done, I think like the community well-being, just as an example.
Transportation, I
In
saw,
transportation,
but it-
we
it
have
looked-
like tables.
yeah, it looked like the majority of them hadn't been done or even started.
Right, so I'm just like, is it worth having all these tables and, you know, nothing's really been done, or could we just, you know, condense it and just do a summary?
I
And then
think-
maybe. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think summarizing it
Okay.
and going forward. I mean, there's a lot of work done in 2009 to get that plan developed, and we're not forgetting it. But we are moving forward, so we can take that. That was a stepping stone. Now we have other ideas or thoughts or plans for implementing what's the town is looking for now, 15 years later. So I don't know if I would include a table in every chapter. That doesn't show that there was a lot of work done, for sure, but everything hasn't been done. And I don't know if we want to take the time and the individual chapters and call that out.
That makes sense. And then I think the other question I had, maybe Roxanne, this might have been a comment you have, but when we talk about other policies and laws, like from county plans that might apply to this particular element. Instead of having it like listed out the way it is, do we wanna maybe put that in the appendix and have it there instead?
I think Caitlin suggested that also.
Was, yes. Hearing from the audience that it's absolutely a put it in the appendix. That's great, and that's fine by me, like, that's easy enough that we can move that back there, are there any other?
Yeah, because I think the comment Caitlin had, and I agreed with her, is that it's a little bit confusing as to whether this is our, policy we have, or we're suggesting, or is something else, so I think
Who's in
moving
charge?
it,
Yeah.
moving it out is a good idea.
Yeah, so we can move that there and then just make it really
Right.
explicit of like, this is from, this Tompkins County plan and then
Right.
list the policies and the actions that are associated with it so that people understand
Right.
that that's what that is.
Right.
And again, those are just being used for references
Yeah,
to help.
Exactly.
Look, those are not directly guiding, like, they're guiding, but they're not directly, we're not pulling policies directly from those for our town if they're not appropriate.
Right, exactly,
So
just,
that it's like the other things that it's informing us, it's another
Right.
one of those policies, yeah.
yeah,
Right.
and having
It's a resource.
alignment where it makes
A
sense.
resource, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So putting them all together, I think that could go with the other ones, wherever it's either in the intro, these are everything we looked at, or appendix, whatever you think. Back to I just had a comment on the table that you were talking about. I think it is really important and a good idea to go through and see what was proposed in the last comp plan based on the goals and what was or wasn't done. To help us think about, well, was there a reason? Do we still want to do those? Do we want to do other ones? So I don't think, we need a table in each place, but I think it's useful for this committee, and then maybe even when we have the public meeting to have an assembled table for, a little table for each topic. It's just kind of extra materials to look at and think about, what we had thought and where we're at, and do we still want this in or not, if our committee happened to miss something. So since you have it anyway, and you have tables for some of them, maybe if we just had a little collection of those, but it's not part of the actual chapter.
Sure.
Cause I think it's good work that you did, and I think it's useful information for us to think about.
Yeah, we can do that. Okay.
What other comments from the environment, natural resources do you wanna to walk through? I know we
Yeah,
walked through some last time, but not all of them, and I know more people had a chance to dive into them deeper.
Yeah, I know Roxanne, I know you had a chance to do a deep dive, or are there certain comments that you kind of wanted to bring up with the committee as a whole?
Well, on the first, when it says introduction and background information, says 2025 update, it says natural resources and built environment element. And why does it say built environment? Because we have,
Oh, that's
Built
gonna be, that was a
environment.
typo.
I think that
okay,
that was
Yeah.
a carryover.
So that we already fixed in
okay,
the edits that we've been working on,
okay,
so that we took care of,
okay. So it isn't the built environment, okay.
we took care of.
And then I just had some suggested, like there were some wording things that you can consider.
Okay,
Let's see. Oh, the actions when they're taken versus not, but we just talked about that. And I think I added some things that were put in place that you wanted to know about, like let's see. Policy area. Was this the review, I guess, of actions, still the background and information, yeah, so that's, I guess, review, that's all the review of actions, right? Policy area
Yes.
one, yeah.
Yeah.
So there
Yep.
were, I added some other things because you asked us to, like. Zoning amendments, like the conservation zone. And the
right,
steep slopes and the lake shore were put in place since 2009, but I didn't have the dates on that, but
okay,
they definitely were.
yeah, that's still helpful, just so, like I said, just to
Right.
gauge, what progress has in fact been made, and just so we can, document that in some type of way.
Right. Yeah. And some other things,
And I
like establish a conservation advisory council, or Caitlin pointed out that we have that. And you have all these comments because we have it and I'm on it, so.
Yeah, absolutely, no, great. And then I know you had some comments of referencing, the natural resources inventory, did you have?
Yeah, well, just our, yeah, just, oh, I did have a bunch of different places with regard to the natural resources.
I think I'm on page 9 is where we start to get into it.
Yeah. Oh, I made some other suggestions about the animal agriculture one, that these are all the checking back what we did or didn't do, so I guess this is gonna be kind of taken out and put into a table that is referencing, is that what we're saying now? All of the going through.
Yeah, so we
original
have,
objectives.
basically, that's what my question was, is like, do you want it represented in a table, is that helpful, do you want it summarized, you know, it can be, you know, either or, you know,
Right,
depending on.
I think
what
in
we
a
think
table,
about it.
but then maybe even at the end of the chapter in an appendix or not in the text. I think that's what I was suggesting in my earlier comment, but everybody else could certainly should weigh in on that, because I think it really breaks the flow of
Mhm.
what we're thinking about now. But again, we did put it something in design standards in the zoning update. I forgot exactly which one, that encouraged manure handling and other things to take into account,
Okay,
ensuring things are managed to protect health and safety of the citizens. Stuff like that. So let's see, but then you were saying,
yeah, I think it was page
9.
9, you started getting into comments about, I
Right.
think the inventory that you all had completed, and just, I think making sure there was probably
Right.
some alignment there.
Right. Oh, yeah, yeah, I had even, yeah, it said perhaps we should reference and link to the natural resources inventory, because there's a lot of detail there. Um. Of course, you know, the natural resources inventory has wetlands maps and other things too, so they may not be, you know, completely accurate now, so,
Right.
you know, just.
With the newer information
Right,
that's
we should
available.
just be clear that it's 2018, but it is something that the town formally adopted, so.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of existing inventory, there's slope maps, there's all that other stuff there. So I was just saying that maybe some summary information on those things could be included in that water bodies and water sheds, so. Because we did do it, and so they might not be.
Yeah, we can include that.
I had a question on the wetland map. Was it based on the New York State new regulations?
Yeah, that's the new
That's the
DEC,
new
so
one.
from the environmental resource mapper, that's where that map came from.
Right,
Mhm.
right, so maybe just being clear on like the referencing of where the.
Yeah, we can
maps
add a
come
label
from.
on there that
Yeah,
with
I
it.
think it's just good for people to know what the data was. I remember in some other plans that we worked on, ag and farmland protection plan, there was always a lot of argument about the data. And so you want
Yeah.
to know the source
Making
of
sure
it
it's
so that
cited.
people understood. where-
And we can include that as a resource too, because I do think it's a cool tool if, you know, people wanna, you know, be
Yeah.
interactive and go to the ERM mapper themselves and kind of look at different areas. Obviously, they can look at things beyond wetlands, they can look at different geologic
Right.
features,
Yeah.
species, things
Yeah.
like that, so. We can definitely share that. as
There's a whole
resource.
bunch of other comments people made on wetlands and the wording in there to potentially tweak, so.
Mhm.
Yeah. Again, the maps for the floodplain soil topography and all, you said they'll be included in the index, so just. We have them all in the natural resources inventory, so maybe just look and see if they're different or not. Just people should know there's this and then this is updated, so people don't get confused. We're just working on that with the drinking water plan maps too, so. Yeah. Right. And then the slopes thing, people.
And then,
Oh, yeah. On page 12, it said the county identified priority area actions for each natural feature focus area that they identified to conserve and protect the areas in Ulysses. And I was just suggesting that it might be helpful to have a sentence or two on what they are. So the town, because, you know, using this plan in the future might want to consider exactly
Yeah.
what those are without having to go look up that plan. Since there aren't that many of them. And
It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, like being in class.
yeah,
like,
people would come into lectures and disrupt them,
pretty
and
disappointing.
people's thesis
Yeah.
defenses and stuff. It was very.
I do appreciate being able to listen to the early part of the meeting on my way here.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Well, that was fun.
So we'll come back on record and we'll
Is-
see if we might have to delete a couple minutes.
Yeah.
That.
Good plan.
Would it be reduced if, for example, when the town newsletter goes out each week, that there's a passcode for the meetings or something like that?
It's a
That's- I don't
public
think so
meeting.
because that would
Can't do
probably be
that.
against the open public meetings requirements.
Unfortunately, that's the way it goes.
Yeah. That's the most I've seen. So,
That was,
Yeah.
I tried not to see it as soon as I realized what was happening.
yeah.
but let's
Okay.
get back to talking about natural environment.
Where were we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like page 12 on the.
Yeah, you were gonna say something
Yeah,
about
so
page-
Oh, I was just saying that.
oh, expanding,
No, somebody suggested, should we state there's no critical environmental areas? And someone else said I
Yes.
would recommend specifically stating it since there might be in the future. So there was a question about should we or shouldn't we say that we currently don't have any critical, I mean, we could say
I think that's the way to word it
we
as
don't
currently,
do them,
right.
but it might be a recommendation, in the future to think about, so, yeah.
yeah, we can include that. That's no problem.
And I think on that map, I guess it was that map on page 12, I didn't understand honestly exactly what that map was showing. That one with the sort of purple blob and the water I think it's the water that's green.
Yeah, so that
And-
was from the environmental resource mapper, and it's a little tricky to see
And
just
the-
because.
But also, it doesn't seem that the map layers key is the same colors as the actual map. Cause it says like water body for lakes is supposed to be blue, and if that's the lake, it's like green.
Right.
Yeah, and like that whole
Well,
map,
it's green because it's got the overlay of the
Oh, I
yellow
know,
from
yeah.
the railroad.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
some of them might be like overlapping.
right, but it does, I just
No
find it,
fall.
I just find it a very difficult.
Yeah, we
Figure
can
to get
summarize
anything
it.
out of.
Yeah, we can just
So-
summarize it then, cause basically that
Yeah.
was just looking, I think, at like
Yeah,
natural, habitats and endangered species and things like that, so we can, just kind of do like a summary. Obviously, we're gonna have a appendix of maps. Do we think this type of map is just like not helpful in general to look at,
well, I mean, it's, you outline it Ulysses, but it's just way bigger. I just found it like super kind of confusing and not.
So go ahead,
helpful.
Noah.
No, I just had a comment on I'm gonna go all the way back to 1.1, where.
Do you wanna finish the map thing? Or no?
Oh.
Did we finish that?
Oh, I think my only question is like, do we think this would be okay, like blown up and included in like the map appendix, or do we just wanna have, more narrative and not include the map? I think that was just what I was wanting to understand.
I think there might be there are protected species that are identified within the town, and I think to the extent where we're not giving any particular locations, like I don't want to give a location of where things are, like nests are, although we probably can all assume where they are. I think it would be helpful to show that there are rare and protected species in this town.
Yeah.
So I think some form of this map specific to the town, and there might be some other resources we can use than ERM, the environmental resource mapper, that could show it a little bit more in context with the.
And that's what
Lab
this,
of ornithology maps.
Yeah,
what did you say? I'm sorry.
Lab of ornithology.
Oh,
That's
great.
a good
and
maps.
fix the color so the water really is blue and stuff like that, then it makes it a little less confusing when you're looking. But,
Yeah. And like I
Yeah.
said, this, when it's that small, is a little bit difficult
Yeah,
to
yeah.
see.
well, you can't read the
Yeah,
layers.
so I wanna make sure basically it's digestible, that people can read it and understand it, because, You know, if
Right.
we can't, then that's not helpful.
Right, and I mean, maybe we don't have to have all those categories in the legend, because a lot of them don't occur in the town anyway, so.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
that's
find
an, that's an automatic legend from the environmental resource.
Exactly.
Network.
Yeah, no,
I had to
know,
like
but-
superimpose it on it because
yeah.
for whatever reason, it'll like give it to you separate, not
Right.
with the map. It's
Yeah, no, I understand that, but I'm just, I don't know, I don't play with those programs, and maybe it's not doable. It's
Yeah.
just a
No,
thought.
we can find a way to just represent it better, maybe not
Yeah.
necessarily have it in the chapter, but have it somewhere else, but still talk about,
Yeah,
you know, the protected species and things.
yeah,
like that,
and just in a
look
little
at the resources that
paragraph,
you mentioned.
right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mo,
the
do you wanna-
only-
what? Sorry.
Mo,
what?
do you want to go back to
Oh,
1.1?
yeah. On some of the, like you have an area here, it says applied for legislation authority under section 46A of the New York State Navigation Law. Would it be,
Which page are you on? I'm sorry.
oh, that's 1.1, the objective.
Oh, okay.
Okay, should we put something in like also current laws? Because if the laws change and somebody comes up and says, well, I'm going by 46A, because that's what you have in your comp
Mhm.
plan, shouldn't we also put something in like also current law? And that should be almost in any of these, because every time you mention a department, they could just say, well, their department was from 2018.
Sure.
I don't know if that's important or not, but it was just something I noticed.
These county, isn't this from the county plan? I guess I was confused about this part of the section. The 1 point, the goal 1.1, or are those this?
Yeah, but
That's
all I'm
from their
saying is that,
2020. That's from our 2009 comp plan, Diane. Those
right,
were
yeah.
Oh,
So
so
any of
policies and
those,
I thought it was Tompkins countywide planning policies. That's,
What page is this?
no,
yeah, the 1.1.
no, that yeah.
I see 1.1, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of the review of our current comp plan.
Right.
And so then I
I
think we had
see.
said that we were gonna make this a table, not
Yeah.
have it stuck right here, but have it.
anything,
Basically summarize it. So like
Right.
all of those, the way they're written,
Mm.
that's exactly how it was written in the 2009.
Got
plan.
it. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
and it was
yeah.
basically for you all to just, you know, say, yes, we made some progress. This is what we achieved, or no, we didn't. So
Mm.
I think what our plan was is, you know, kind of just summarize it in general. So we're not taking up a lot of space, just to keep it concise and then explicitly explain, you know, which plan it's from, what year that's, you know, in the past. So that would be
Make
the
a
front,
table.
just
That's what we were talking about, making the tables,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
And then we can have one for each chapter, either if it's for the public discussion or whatever as an appendix, but not like right in the middle of the beginning when you get confused.
Just to overwhelm it, to be like, is this what they're suggesting?
Yeah,
Or is this, so
right.
just to have a little bit more organized.
Cause that specific element D, I think in my review of the town board minutes for the last 10 years or more. There was a group on the west shore of the lake that tried to put in stuff about all the moorings and that.
yeah,
And
Bingo.
New York State swatted it down.
yeah.
So that's a no-go with New York State. So they.
Well, that's why I said the word. you know,
That's the joy
current
of
law.
having been on the Lake
Sure.
Shore zoning committee.
Yeah, so trying to repeat that one for the current plan.
Bad
New
idea.
York State said no the last time. I don't think we're gonna
Sure.
gain anything by trying again, so.
Yeah, no, I think kind of like I said, reworking it, having some tables,
Yeah,
and then just being explicit and putting it in a different section, and just
Mhm.
explaining like these are past. Or current,
Mm.
basically.
Okay.
Yeah, just to mitigate that confusion, so people aren't, you know, going right in and
So
being
you'll-
like, wow, this
it's a
is,
problem.
you know, a lot, it's
That's what
overwhelming,
it
what
said.
Correct.
policies apply, you know, so.
Yeah.
And then, just to jump through, just, be cognizant of time, I wanted to just go to the goals and recommendations, just to kind of talk through those, just if there was any major comments, or if people wanted to provide clarification on some thoughts that they had, those start on page
13.
13. So no, there was quite a few comments, so I just wanted to
I,
give folks an opportunity, just if they had.
I had that, like, what is C in that section? Which is projected environment and natural resource needs.
Mhm.
I was suggesting that maybe that should be incorporated into the goals, policies and objectives, because if it's needs, then. And it kind of relates to other things that are talked about in there.
Mhm.
It doesn't need to be its own subsection of needs, because the goals, policies and objectives are supposed to meet the need, address the needs, right?
Yeah, they would. I think the thought was, maybe we just kind of give like a little sneak peek at like what the recommendations would be pertaining to, and it was kind of just like a snapshot, but if we think it's redundant and it's not necessary to have it there, we can just make sure that that wording is included throughout the goals and the policies that are presented. So I guess I'll leave that up to you all. How you'd like to see that.
I mean, I think it would be stronger to have it there just in one place. Because I just find it confusing to have it laid out that way, but that's just me. Trying to, business. Oh, inventory and analysis of existing projected needs. That's what section C is.
Yeah, so basically,
Either way, that was just to me, we talk about them again later anyway, so if you want to, emphasize them, that's fine.
okay, yeah, it's up to you all, I don't mind either way. Liz, did you have any thoughts? Sorry, I know it's kind of hard to see if I don't have it like up.
No, I've got my stuff. I don't know, I can go. I could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big a deal.
I always like streamlining things and keeping people focused.
Yeah.
C kind of seems to me like our biggest issue. So then how are we gonna? I don't know. I guess C you could look at as either in a way they're kind of like what we're actually gonna do, which to me would come after the goals and objectives and policies. Like those are really our goals. So maybe it kind of could fit into 4.
Yeah.
But
I guess that's what I was saying, to kind of go in the goals, but yeah.
do we have that? And I drawing a blank right now. Do we have that this way in other chapters, or is it really specific to this environment and natural
We do,
resources?
basically, it's just like I said, it's kind of just like bulleted of like, in general, here's what the goals and objectives are focusing on. And then basically we get specific after that of each goal, objective and policies that are associated with it.
Okay,
So like.
I can kind of see
Like
them
I said,
merged
it was meant to
together.
be more like a forecast of like what is coming like within the goal section, but I can understand
Sure.
like. If folks think it's confusing, or maybe it should come afterwards, but however you think.
Well, it does give anybody from the public who might have some kind of a goal or objective that meets the need that you didn't happen to think of. The opportunity to see what problem it is that's being solved for them.
Sure.
So there's that aspect. And sometimes, as per the West Shore folks, it gets perceived as being a subgroup's hobby horse if it's just stated as a goal and there isn't any information about what it's meant to address.
Sure. Makes sense.
Well, I don't see anything there that's in that list. This is under the C, projected climate change and resiliency needs. Is that what we're looking at right
Yeah.
now?
And we're looking at the environment and natural resource ones right now. We're gonna talk about climate change next.
That's what I was in. I guess the page numbers aren't the same on the cell phone. Somewhere it was looking for some more explicit something about materials management.
Okay.
So is there a section C? I couldn't find the C.
There is a
That you're
section
talking about.
C in this, and it says projected environment and natural resource needs, and it's on page 13. Oh, well, while you're looking for that though, right above that, there's talking about implementing a climate action and hazard mitigation plan. There's a sentence that says, however, with uncertainty of funding available from the, I think we should take that sentence out. I don't think it does anything, and it's not even necessarily appropriate. It's kind of reasonably short term, and we shouldn't assume we can't do it. Cause the federal government's
we had-
funding isn't good right now.
Yeah, we had that discussion the last time too about kind of like the status of federal policies. They might not be very supportive for certain issues right now, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be the same in 4 years,
Sure.
8 years,
Yeah, we
12
can
years,
take
whatever.
Yeah.
So
It's just
I
kind
think
of
we need to,
negative.
yeah,
Sorry.
let's try to take a global and remove some of those.
Sure,
Yeah,
we can do that.
anyway, you know, if the overarching summary and C is. Yeah. That's fine. I'll read it again and add in anything if I feel like those don't capture everything in the goals and objectives, because I think you want to make sure that they broadly do capture everything in the
Sure.
goals and objectives if you're going to have them separate.
Yep. That makes sense.
And just a comment, but this is, we're switching the terminology from our 2009 comp plan. So with regard to policies are the end to which the specific objectives go. I don't know that necessarily matters. I'm just saying.
Okay.
It's different, yeah. We have, I think we go policy, goal. No, policy. I don't know, policy is the higher level thing in the current comp plan. And I mean, I'm not saying it has to be the same. And just, it struck me just when I was looking at it. Let's see. Right, it goes policy area, objective, actions. So the policy areas are
You said
kind of,
policy, goals, objectives, action.
no, there's no
So if they,
goals in this one.
it was policy, action,
Okay.
objectives and actions, you said,
Yeah.
that was the last one.
Right, we have policies,
Oh.
objectives and actions. It's on page 18. And we say, you know, the objectives and actions are organized into 5 policy areas. So a policy is similar to the vision statement. It's an end to which the specific objectives and actions are aimed. And then objectives are a statement of measurable activity to be accomplished. And then actions are the specific items or proposals to do something that relates to accomplishing the objective. So we just are using very different terminology here, which I'm not saying is good or bad. I'm just saying is, if you want to have it.
Yeah.
Consistent.
If you want to have it consistent and be in that format, that's fine, we can change it. I guess that's just something we would wanna know now before we do
Yeah, I mean,
more chapters and just because. we have
right.
to
I
visit.
don't necessarily
Why don't
care, but I
why
just,
don't we put that out to folks who are reviewing, because there are several more members that
Right.
aren't here.
Okay.
If we can get an email and just talk about, make sure we're all on page with some nomenclature and terminology that we're using, we can have that discussion either at the next meeting so we don't get too far, but I don't want to make a decision right here.
Yeah, we can do that. I think that makes sense.
no, I agree.
Are the
But I think
policy,
it'd be worth having, like, if Roxanne, if you could copy that section from the
Sure.
2009 comp plan, and then we can
Yeah.
include the section from this, so people can see them comparable next to each other, I think that would be great.
Yep, I will send it.
and
Thank
couldn't the policies be switched out for the actions? It sounds like they're kind of similar. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's confusing. Isn't a policy typically something that's voted on and adopted? As opposed to.
More overarching.
Yeah, but you know, and the policies I'm reading here seem to be more. actionable items. I mean,
Policy action, yeah. Yeah, I think it's worth exploring, you know, just to make sure we're all on the same page of what
Yeah.
terminology makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, sure.
And is intuitive, so we can most certainly do that, and it's not a big deal to change it on our end at all.
Yeah,
I
I
really
wasn't,
just the headers, honestly.
yeah, I wasn't trying to be critical. I was just, cause I was reading through them as I was doing this and I realized, oh, they're like totally
But
switched.
somebody else might have that same, you know,
Yeah.
question or concern if
And-
they're reading, so.
And people might not necessarily be comparing the two, but I just realized, oh, that's the opposite of what we said.
Yeah,
How to
so
think about
we
it.
can explore that, we certainly can circulate an email and kind of get that sorted out.
All right, you want me to do that, what Liz just asked and send it to you?
If you wanna do that, that would be super.
All right, it is, I'm gonna do a time check because it's 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
We still wanted to go through the climate change and resiliency chapters, plus we have transportation and community well-being. And we want to talk through some more planning for the second open house. So that's a lot to cover. In an
Yeah.
hour.
So we can switch over to climate change and
But,
resilience.
Well, I mean, I think since we're nearly done with
Yeah.
this, if there's other
Yeah,
things
unless
you have
there's something
questions on
major
the
somebody
goals,
on-
we should finish it and then do the other one, at least the climate, and then talk about the planning one, and then maybe we don't get much to those other two chapters, but I mean, that's a lot for 1 hour.
Yeah,
I think we all thought covering 4 chapters in one meeting is too much to do
Well, yeah, and
well.
we covered a lot of the comments that are that when I looked through the end of the natural resources, we did talk about the last meeting in terms of including some T&E stuff, open space definitions. PRI is something new, so that is something new that's come up since we met last month. If folks don't know, PRI did come to the town board meeting in June, first meeting in June, and present a plan or proposal to have the town potentially be donated Smith Woods. So that would be another environmental resource that would come under the jurisdiction and the purview and the maintenance of the town. So I don't know, I think there was a news article in the Free Press. Not sure if everybody saw that or not, but that there are several comments in these goals and objectives discussions regarding that.
okay, great,
Just wanted to make sure folks were aware of that.
that's awesome, thank you.
Well, I mean, I made a whole bunch of suggestions of things that weren't discussed at the last meeting in here, but we don't have to talk about them if you want to look at them and use your judgment if they should be included, or if, I don't know how you want to handle that. Just wording things that could be included.
Yes, that I did see, yeah, and that some of that, like I said, some of that we've started working through already, just, you know, semantics, things like that, so we started working through or, you know, yes, these track changes make sense, and then basically, actually, not to get off topic again, but as far as us presenting, put it in the shared folder. We were thinking of, we can have a Word document that kind of has the track changes, so you can kind of see all what your edits were and kind of what our edits were to address that, and then have a clean version that you ultimately can share out. So that's what we're thinking as far as what we would put in the shared folder. So we're not gonna delete the other versions that are in there, just so, you know, they're there, you can refer to them, but you'll have a new clean version
That makes
essentially.
sense. Well,
And
then,
something so you can see the track changes just to see how things were addressed.
so then if there's something someone feels really strongly about, we can bring it up again.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
fine.
So I just
I
want to
mean,
make
I
sure I
think
kind of gave that
A lot of
clarification
them,
of what you
you
would
know,
see.
just to be helpful, but I do have one thing that I would like to raise, and it's under objective 4, I mean, I think they're all valid, but we can move on.
Which page are you on? I'm sorry.
I'm on the last page, 16. Objective 4, 6.4, 6.4.1.
Of the natural resources.
Yeah.
Okay.
It says continue to advocate for preserving scenic and open space values associated with agricultural lands, and I just want to say that I am concerned about, and I have this comment, equating the value of preserving agricultural lands to serving open space goals. I think those things should be separate. I think agricultural land is in and of itself an important natural resource.
Mhm.
And I think there's already way too much convolution of open space versus agriculture, and it's something I think we need to get to the bottom of in this plan, and so I don't think there should be confusion there.
Okay, that makes sense.
And the rest I'll just check when you make the edits and see.
Yeah.
If I thought they made sense, if they were helpful or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That
great.
sounds great.
No, I agree with that, Roxanne. I think they're often put together in the same sentence, but they're very different resources. Open space and agricultural lands are two very specific resources that have different values to the town and the community and the natural environment. But we should not be imposing one on the other. So I agree with that.
And agroforestry doesn't qualify as open space. So you have that too, so there's a lot more agroforestry going on than there used to be.
So, yeah, I
Yeah.
think there can just be another sentence in that objective, because it says continue to protect open space and agricultural land resources. So you can just take off the value associated with agricultural lands from 6.4.1 and then the next one, and then just have a statement of, protecting agricultural land resources too, which will be in the land chapter 2,
Right.
but just not
Right.
here. Its value is open space. And I mean,
Sure.
it does provide a landscape that people like,
Mhm.
but it's not
But they are,
the reason to say we want agriculture in the town.
sure.
You could say
Yeah,
we
we
want
can
open space in the town and
make
we
that
can make
clear.
20-acre zoning lots, I mean, it's different than trying to keep agriculture.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank
All
you.
right. Good
Uh,
point.
Are we ready to move on to climate change?
Yes.
So I think in the beginning, some of it, I think was just some wordsmithing suggestions, so I think that's pretty straightforward. Obviously, the formatting of what we just talked about with the last one would apply to this one, so I think that kind of takes care of those comments. Let's see.
Oh, I do have one thing that I felt, well, I had a lot of things, but the one thing that I think is, I thought was a somewhat fundamental question, which is that this chapter should include support for climate mitigation. That is goals and actions that contribute to the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions and energy use that are contributors to climate change, and it's a key part of the climate smart communities that we're committed to, and it actually is sort of threaded through the rest of this plan. So I think that, it should be up here in the front too.
So just.
Because it just does to
narrative up
address
there.
preparedness and adaptation.
Yeah.
And I think also support for climate mitigation. I wrote a whole bunch. You can decide
I did see that.
what
yeah.
words you like there if people agree, but I think the chapter should be broad and include climate mitigation actions. And there's wording in section B that indicates that we are considering greenhouse gas reductions and other related things in this plan. So
Mhm.
I just suggested
Talk
little
about that
bit
in the intro.
yeah, I had alternate wording there intended to promote and support climate change preparedness, adaptation, and mitigation, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
okay,
can include that, and then I know you had some suggestions.
but I just felt like the committee should decide if they do want to have that in there, but I think we should.
And then I saw your other suggestions as far as just different programs that we can talk about too, so I think we would have that in the intro part, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this, all the studies include
Right,
those in there
the
too.
climate smart
And
communities.
just bullet
part
it here,
Yeah,
so people
I
can
put,
follow.
the climate smart communities and the clean energy communities, because we've participated a lot in both of those, and we've actually gotten a lot. Well, the climate smart communities is helping fund this, and the clean energy communities has funded in energy and climate and greenhouse gas reduction improvements in our town to the tune of like $265,000, no match. So we should definitely recognize those plans. Because we put a lot into them, and the board's been very supportive of them, so,
Definitely.
yeah.
That's great. I think most of the comments, I mean, I don't know if anybody else had like any like major comments, but I think a lot of it was kind of just like wordsmithing and like word suggestion, things like that, that, you know, we most certainly can work through and things like that. I don't think it's anything we have to spend too much time talking about, because it all seemed like it made sense. It's just a different way to word and present things. I think the only thing maybe I wanted to focus on was the recommendations.
Yeah.
So where did their goals, objectives and policies, just taking time to look at that, because I think there was a lot of comments there, so I just wanted to kind of go through those, if anybody wanted to provide clarification or anything like that. I know as far as the inventory analysis, I know Karen, last time you had brought up, just other components that we can be focusing on, so we're starting to look through that in our edits, so we're addressing that, so that will be documented, and then, like I said, if anybody had any other comments.
What are you talking about, I'm sorry?
So the inventory and analysis, there were some comments of, you know, other things that we can focus on.
The inventory and analysis is again, what we're
Sorry,
gonna put
the
into the
existing
table.
conditions part of this section,
Oh, okay.
so section 3
Okay,
of just different things that, you know, we can also focus on. I know like fire was brought up. This is something that we can look at, invasive species, things like that. So those are different
right,
components that we're gonna include in the edits that we're currently working through right now. So
right.
I just wanna make sure I gave an update that that was being addressed, but then I just wanted to
Mhm.
talk through the goals and policy section just to see if there was anything major that anyone wanted to talk about or clarification. Just some of them, I think they make sense and we can most certainly make those edits, but I just wanted to see if there's anything that, you know, people wanted to discuss, you know, among the committee.
Yeah, I have my thing, which is reuse is mentioned in 7.4. But that's kind of it. It's very there's in 7.43, it's sort of lumped in with composting and recycling. And it's kind of more of a question, like here it is, like kind of nestled in climate change and resiliency, but from an environmental standpoint, materials management and collection, it's a huge fossil fuel just to export our waste. There's an economic opportunity in capturing it and recirculating it. And you know, there's workforce development related to that. And then also like, you know, where this is and this is climate resilience, right?
Yeah.
I know where I am.
Yep.
Reuse infrastructure too, that's larger. And the good news is New York State, for the first time ever in my 25-year career, has added $2 million to the New York State budget for the DEC to invest in reuse infrastructure. That's never happened before. We've been complaining that they've invested billions in recycling infrastructure and zero in reuse infrastructure.
Okay.
So in towns, which are planning units for materials management, with towns, most towns don't even know that they have decision-making power around that and influence. If there's more infrastructure for reuse to manage the materials and sort them, those facilities can become climate resilience facilities. Like if there's a disaster, they could pause those activities, but already have the denailing for lumber, that like if there's a blowdown of a bunch of houses or a tornado comes through type of thing, or there's flooding and you're trying to salvage materials, there's like a climate resiliency opportunity. And I just don't see it very, it's a new concept, but I think we
Right.
could have an opportunity
That's
to put it there.
important.
But where does it go? You know, is it
Yeah.
economic? Is it environmental? Is it climate?
Well, I think it
resilience?
should be repeated in
Yeah, I
all of
think it
those
should be
places.
reinforced.
I think you can
there's-
develop it the most strongly in the area we pick, but I think you should repeat it in all of them.
Okay. Yeah,
To
I
me,
just,
yeah.
I mean, you guys followed the concept, right? But so
Yes.
how do we articulate it
Yeah.
in here? It's what I wanted to
Mhm.
raise.
No, that's great.
Do you have a thought of, or would it be, well, I guess maybe it's under the, yeah. Objective needs, that bullet thing, or climate, see, it's climate challenges for climate change and resiliency, so it's not that. Resources, local organizations involved in climate change and resiliency. Well, we should list reuse there,
So
but
14, I think is.
But yeah, you're right, the text needs to be kind of developed, so. Exist, maybe, well, it's under inventory and analysis of existing and projected climate change and resiliency needs. Do you think like a paragraph there?
I think we could talk about like reuse, like have it as a bullet, but then also just like reinforce it. Like in the goal objectives and policies or whatever we're gonna call it, in that section, we can just have more specific action items that pertain to that. That would address it, is that how?
Yeah, or
you're
just
envisioning
something
it?
a little more explicit that's, future leaning as opposed to status quo, which doesn't exist yet.
Right.
But
Right.
I'm agnostic as to where it's mentioned. I do think I know we're not talking about economics, but I think there should be a mention of it there as well.
Yeah, I can
um,
bring that up to Mary.
But,
Maybe,
I think somewhere under 3 might make sense. Inventory and analysis, maybe create another subsection like between A and B.
right, that's what I was just thinking. Like Diane, maybe you could just write a few sentences of what you said and
Be
they
happy
could
to.
figure out.
Yeah,
where to
we can put it in. And
Okay.
And
kind of,
then there
like,
could also be
generate
bullets, but
discussion.
I mean, that it does all those things and we can just incorporate it into them all.
Your comment sparked a brainstorm. I think related, there's the issue, my husband and I faced this, of having a home that was damaged by fire many years ago, sat vacant for a long time. Faced the question of, do we tear it down completely and start over? And we did the best to salvage what was left. And I don't know if there's any category where that would fit into to discuss. I don't know, it would, we didn't get any incentive, but, it would have been nice, I don't know, to tax break or something to have, salvaged. I know the prior owners of our property had been planning to tear down, I think, and build entirely new. And we basically, used the existing footprint, saved the structure that had survived the fire that was built, I think, in the 1960s, as opposed to sending all of that concrete block to the landfill.
Yeah, it's good that you were able to, getting financial incentives for that is challenging.
Right.
But if there were easier, more convenient infrastructure and services,
Right.
which I think is something that the economy needs to rebuild, but.
And I think
biggest problem
sometimes
is-
it's more costly to try to salvage. So I guess.
It often is.
All-
The biggest problem is not having the space to absorb the volume of materials necessary to turn them back into the economy. And that's the infrastructure New York State finally has agreed to start investing, which is exciting. But yeah, so I'll work on some language and share that around.
Like the circular economy and everything like that, I
Yeah.
think that would be great to have threaded through this because it's an important thing.
Yeah, and I think just the advocacy too of just,
Right.
encouraging reuse practices and things like that. I think that's the other, component of it.
And so this is a plan of actions that the town, we should have it as a, whatever, an action policy goal, whatever we decide, because the town can, do things towards promoting those kind of things or helping.
And
Have
has
a
access
satellite
to fund.
facility, right, and
And
fund.
there's just a
funding.
$5 million solid waste infrastructure grant that Dryden applied for and has made it through to final review, which is gonna be for a warehouse and a retail outlet. And there could be something like that here too. There will be eventually as the economy continues to shift, but
Mhm.
if it's in your policy, that will help
Yeah, that would be great.
strengthen the grant application,
Right,
right?
yeah, for sure, if it's in
Sure.
your comp plan.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. That makes it more competitive and that
Okay.
you've had a thought process to think,
All right.
that's important.
I'll get you some language.
That's great.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Diane. Good point.
Great.
Angelina, anything else big in this chapter that we want to touch on? I'm not racing anybody, I'm just. I want to make sure we discuss
A lot
the
of
points that we
the
want to
comments
discuss.
that were made, like I said, were just, can you expand this? Can you use this wording instead, which, makes sense to us. We're willing to, make those edits. So I didn't have anything major, but like I said, Diane, thank you for sharing, you know, the reuse. I think that's really important for this chapter as well as other chapters, so.
Yeah, I just had, and I put them in there and you can, you know, incorporate them or whatever, like calling things, you know, a climate vulnerability assessment specifically, because you can get funding for that and work with programs on that, so
Yeah,
climate protection, incorporating climate protection level or assessing impacts of climate hazards and things like that. So a climate vulnerability study, you know, just using those specific words, recommending a hazard mitigation study. You know, those are things we could do. And on the HABs one, I just suggested that we don't say develop an approach to address harmful algal blooms, because we can't really. I mean, a lot of organizations are, so we could just reword it to promoting awareness and facilitating public information on HABs occurrence and contributing factors in collaboration with a lot of other groups, because, you know, everybody's trying to address it and nobody even really understands what's causing it, so. It's
Isn't there
very
some
complicated.
recognition that, you know, going back to what we're talking about, the agricultural use, that there's probably a high level of contribution from the fertilizers that run into the lake, and that it may have been exacerbated by the increasing use of tiles that cause fast runoff and.
Yeah, I mean,
I
certainly.
think there's a whole bunch of different reasons why
Yeah.
we're seeing that.
Nutrients,
Agricultural is one, sewers is
farming.
another.
Yeah, there's a lot, and there's still things that sort of defy the predictive constructs of these organisms, why they're happening here. I mean, they're happening in Skaneateles Lake. It's one of the most oligotrophic lakes in New York State and in the country. So it's,
What was that word? Vocabulary word?
I'm sorry, oligotrophic, so
Oligotrophic.
least enriched
Oh,
and
okay.
lakes, very clean, pristine lakes.
Turns out forest stuff works for nutrients as well.
So I just suggested a rewording which promotes awareness and all these things, and works with these other groups that are working on all these things. Land use, watershed protection, everything else, instead of just saying that we would do it, because we can't really do it by ourselves.
that's definitely a collective.
And we
effort,
can't
for sure.
control anything that runs off of agricultural land, so. We can make suggestions and promote best management
Encourage.
practices.
Yeah.
But we cannot mandate anything.
Is that state
Right.
law?
Yeah.
The right to
Yes.
farm?
It's ag markets.
Well, regarding agriculture, you can control a lot regarding the location and slope of prospective roadways. That's entirely within the town's purview and could do a lot.
Right, but we can't
Yeah.
change tile draining or anything like that.
No,
Again,
no, that's the
not
farmer's right to do what they
agriculture,
want with their own land.
But municipal roadways.
Right, but that's not what we're talking. She
It-
was
it-
talking
it's part
about
of it.
tile drainage.
Well,
The town.
as an example more
Right.
generally, but I'm also
ag
thinking
runoff.
as it relates specifically to Cuba Lake. If there are problems related to agriculture, it's probably mostly outside the town of Ulysses. In other towns, and we certainly can't control what's going on in other towns, but again, there can be communications and collaborations and
Right,
recommendations.
so that's the wording that I
Yeah,
was suggesting we just put in,
Yep.
yeah, so people are aware.
Yeah.
Everybody's
sounds good.
aware. There's a lot of groups
Alright.
working with farmers, working on
Yeah.
lots of,
Yeah,
nobody wants HABs.
I know,
Farmers.
not everyone had a chance to like deep dive into transportation and community well-being. I think there was a few comments maybe on transportation, if anybody wanted to share their thoughts, maybe we could talk about that briefly. Does that make sense to you, Niels? Okay.
Yeah.
Just to kind of keep it moving along, and have some discussion.
Well, can I just ask a question?
Oh, yeah,
So
go
you're
ahead.
gonna make, coming out of this, you're gonna make edits and you're gonna have an edited version and then you're gonna tell us that it's there and then.
So that
we-
you can review it.
And then what? We take that document, that revised draft document, even if we might have other comments, we just send them, what do we do? Do we give it to our groups now then, like my committee wanted specifically to see these two chapters?
Yeah.
And so do I give it to them at that point?
I don't have a formal suggestion of how you should do it. I think it's kind of, do you, or Liz, do you have suggestions of what you want that to look like as far as, you know, once the element is at a place where you feel comfortable to share it, how that goes about?
I think the last time we talked about. So like for the first couple chapters that we reviewed. We've gone through 2 reviews more or less within our steering committee, correct? Because we got a second opportunity to review the revised ones. I would say that those might be ready. Niels, would you feel comfortable? And especially those would be the historic preservation, housing, built environment, economics. Feel those are ready to go to like planning board, town board, zoning board?
I mean, from my perspective, I am more in favor of releasing these as soon as we get them to the public and everybody else, so that we can get more input. I guess it's up to the town board and this committee though to decide when you guys are comfortable releasing it, but I would rather see information released earlier rather than later.
I was gonna say, the only suggestion I would have was like the, that you do have ready, like we can post those on the website and then people can see them there. Like as they're ready. So maybe there's the 3 that we talked about earlier, maybe those can go on the website this month. And we can have those on there, and then as we get, you know, the climate change and the natural resources one all settled, then we can add those. And as we approve and we feel good about them, we can just keep adding them. That makes sense?
Okay.
But you'll give us
Do
one
we want to
draft.
provide the town board a recommendation since we have a meeting next Tuesday? And I know they were asking when they will start seeing documents. At least one town board member asked if they were gonna see them before they went out to the public. So if we have a recommendation, I can just take that to the board and discuss it on Tuesday, and then we can go from there. I mean, I would be fine. I also agree. I want to get these out to the public and all the different committees sooner than later to make sure that they're getting enough folks, or enough time to review before the open house.
So they'll come back again, like you're feeling like those first 3, we already had enough time to look at those twice. This one, we're looking at and making a bunch of edits, then you're gonna make those edits.
Yeah.
Post it. Then should we put it to the stakeholder committee then before it goes to the town board or the public? I guess that's what I'm asking.
No, I think they would be at the same time.
Oh, because
Well,
that's
it's-
not what we said last time. So you said last time the stakeholder input was intermediate, but are we not, we're skipping that now? Yes, no.
That's what I thought we were just talking about. Yeah, that we were just gonna put them out. But I'm open to ideas and thoughts.
So you're
Either
thinking
way.
you want like respective
No,
committees
I
to take
just
a look
wanna
and then
know
have it go to the town board?
when they can see it because they asked and they'll give me the feedback that I could bring back to this committee. So we'll have another round, whatever, potentially of edits. I don't care when, I just wanna know when. I didn't use this one to give them because at the last meeting you said we should have a discussion first and then the
Right.
committee's gonna make edits and then there'll be a newer draft. And so that's what I'm asking about that newer draft that you're gonna make.
Yeah.
That's the one we just.
So
give
the
out to
newer draft that
everybody.
we'll have and we'll say, hey, it's in the folder, that would be the one that would,
All right,
if you feel comfortable, that I would share it, that's.
Right.
It with you
and then
all.
we're gonna also
Right.
post
And it would be shared with everybody.
that on the website and everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
So we're really looking at the 3 that should become available then would be the economic development, housing and historic and resources, the first 3 chapters essentially. that
yeah,
We started the meeting with tonight.
Cause the edits have already been made on those after our
Right.
discussions.
So when they do the final cleanup on them, which they said they'd have done by the end of next week, right, and that's where you started. Then we'd get those out to the different committees.
Well, and the whole public, they're gonna be
Right.
posted on the website.
Well, I think that's kind of for your going to the town board is we essentially make a pass at through the chapter. They come back with what they've consolidated it into and then go ahead from there. I think similar to what
yeah.
we've done that with these first three chapters.
Yeah, and I don't think the town board, they'll be looking to this committee in terms of recommendations in the process. I don't recall anybody saying they wanted to look at anything before it was submitted to the public for review. So if we're comfortable with that, I can bring that up on Tuesday's meeting in terms of just they'll be seeing some chapters by the end of next week. They're gonna get, town board will get it at the same time as other town committees and boards, and the general public will have access to them as well.
Right, so it's gonna be a document that's all checked changes and everything though, right? That you're posting to the general public and all?
I was gonna make a clean version of it, so
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, they'll get a clean
Internally,
version.
we'll have
The
one.
track changes.
exactly, we'll internally have one that has track changes, but the ones that are presented to the public, they're just gonna see it as a clean document.
Okay, and then you're gonna have a mechanism by which you can collect comments from the public? I think you should be ready for that before you put it out to the general public, because you're gonna have to have a way to handle those.
So anyone
People
can
would
make,
need to submit written comments, either
Yeah.
by email.
Right, I'm
And
just
then-
saying, when you post it, we should post the mechanism by which people should, you'd like the comments submitted.
I think
for
you
each
guys said
chapter.
you have like a comp plan email, like specific email, maybe you just like have that and that's where you get that and you can kind of monitor it from there. On monitoring it, but then
Right,
maybe that's the platform that, you know, at least it's all centralized. And people can submit comments there unless they, you know, have handwritten comments that they come drop off.
okay. I don't particularly care, however you feel like it can best be processed. So it could be a lot.
I guess my 2 cents on my experience, and Liz as a town board member and other committee members, board members, is that because your meetings have public or what you call privilege of the floor sessions, and you're all reviewing the documents, there should be an opportunity for the public at any time at those meetings that you're discussing for them to provide comment on the comp plan. So they can write written comments, email to the comp plan steering committee, town board, planning board, BZA, water source protection. The public should be able to provide comment at all of those meetings and all of those avenues, whichever is best for them. That's my suggestion.
But then how does it all get to be summarized for this committee to look at or consider, or
So please,
the drafts to be considered to be
yeah,
edited? How,
Or-
if you get it from, like, if people are emailing 8 different people, well, how do you want it all in one place that you're consolidating?
so as chairs, please coordinate with me and I'll coordinate with Carissa if she gets anything to submit those to me.
Okay, so that's the comp plan email?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So just tell us that when you post it, where you want them all to end up being.
Will economic development be reviewed by the Three Falls, blah, 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 whatever it is, which turns out to just be the elected officials anyway, but because there is a Trumansburg Chamber of Commerce that conceivably might have really useful input on economic development, just saying.
So they are listed as a stakeholder.
I'm saying for stakeholder.
Yep.
Yeah, there is not a committee, but if that document were available, some of us might be in a position to talk about it.
Sounds good to me.
I just wanted to know the process, because it could be things coming from a lot of direction.
Exactly.
And we do need to pull it together to consider further.
And that's like Neil and I have gone to anything going out to the planning board members. We actually have Neil's put it out to them rather than me as the chair. That keeps it focused as a town central point for, you know, when this is available and that it all comes out from Neil's as sort of the source point, and that seems to be working certainly for the planning board to do it that way.
Great. We have 25 minutes left. We want to talk about transportation?
Yeah, we can do that. Like I said, I know some folks got to it, some folks need more time. Diane, I know you came late. I'm actually giving folks till the 18th if they want to do a deeper read on community well-being and transportation and provide some comments.
Like,
I gave a 2-week extension just because I know there's holidays and vacations and all that good stuff. But for those that did have a chance to review the transportation section, did you wanna kind of share some of your thoughts or any like major ideas that you had as you were reading it?
I
I did
provided
see that you guys did more
comments.
of the bullets up front, so I like that. I like the way it looks, just more streamlined.
And the bullets group here, this is one of those where there's Tompkins County 2009 Route 96 corridor management study. In other chapters, it shows up as 2007 for the same title. That's where I think putting them all in one spot will weed that out for us.
Sure. Yeah,
And enjoy them together.
mhm.
Well, I suspect it may be more of a typo than than two different documents.
I know, they have things to do to, yeah. They might have done it twice.
and then I know with the planning, so I know he added in some tables and things like that. So for the planning background, so looking at pages 6 and 7, do you think this type of info is okay where it is? Cause I know it is looking at, you know, more county planning policies as opposed to, you know. What's necessarily current, so I know we talked about, you know, putting that more in the appendix, so. Is that where you would wanna see this information as well, or do you think it fits fine here?
Again, I think this is very relevant information. I think personally, I'd like to see it at the end in the appendix and focus really on what the town has. Obviously, these are policies or programs or guidelines that are gonna help us develop our own goals and objectives, but I'd like to see the chapters focusing on the town and all the other
Sure.
resources be available in appendices at the end of the
Appendices.
report.
Sounds good.
But that's my thoughts, open to other thoughts.
I mean, maybe you can have, I don't know if it would be called planning background, but just a little paragraph that highlights the important things, you know, for the Ulysses to consider that come out of.
To
each
have
other.
some alignment with some of the
Yeah.
county policies, yeah, we
Yeah,
can do that.
But not, doesn't have to say the goals and all, everything, it can just be a couple of paragraphs of things that are key
Sure,
that. For the town of Ulysses to consider. Or that that are just, highlighted things, yeah,
sure.
maybe we can try that structure anyway, I don't know.
Yeah,
That
we
would
can see
work,
how it looks. I
but-
think just having a brief, you know, like I said,
Yeah.
just to keep it concise,
And
have maybe an
yeah,
overall summary
Right.
and then, you know, this is good info and just
Right.
putting it in the appendix.
Yeah, right. But it is a nice sort of intro into, the visioning efforts and what we kind of can and can't do or might help inform what we do, so. But without all that little detail, so it gets confusing that it's not us, it's someone else.
Other comments that people wanted to share?
I mean,
I
I
didn't
have a
look at
number
it,
of
yeah.
comments I put in, probably can be quickly summarized as couple of topics. One is, I think it's important to consider whether there's other transportation categories that we should include. I know there was a list of, here's the transportation categories, and what I saw missing from that was the ride shares, the autonomous driving vehicles, which are increasingly becoming available both for personal use, but also for more public use, like through Waymo and Tesla. They now, you can order a vehicle and it will come to you and pick you up without having a driver. So I think this technology is exploding very quickly. The other thing we're seeing more of is, as I commented, in Texas, they now have driverless semi trucks that are traveling the highways between the major cities. So
I wanna know where those highways are so I can
Yeah.
stay off of them.
I
Oh my
have that
God.
same hesitation,
Centrally.
but I've been looking at the data, and increasingly they're looking safer than human drivers. So I think it's something we have to at least acknowledge, because the chapter will be very quickly outdated if we don't at least acknowledge this is coming on the scene.
Just emerging
Yeah.
technology.
Yeah, and I'm no expert in this. I only know it from what I read, in the public lay press. But it seems that it's exploding, and I think it can also address some of the issues potentially here, where like you say, if you don't own your own car, or you're elderly or disabled, right now there's a few limited options. But if you can order a driverless vehicle to come pick you up, that may actually make Trumansburg more accessible to surrounding communities for people to live in.
I think with rideshare too, it's also just like not vehicles, like I was just like in DC this past weekend, like there's like the scooters and like the bikes and like other things like that too, that, people are getting around. Like electronic.
And then the other major category you'll see is bicycle and pedestrian safety. And I have quite a few comments about that. But I do think there's a lot of opportunity here to improve access and safety. And I've noted a few examples. It could be a very long discussion, I think. And if we want to talk about it, we can, but I'll pause and see if people do want to discuss it, or we want to talk about it next time after people have read my comments. And
Yeah. Or if people have like expanded comments or additional thoughts and things like that. We can certainly do that. I think there's a few comments. I know we have a lot of maps in here that look at collisions and things like that. I know one thing we're doing is just making sure that the maps are delineated, more so town focused and not looking at other areas, so that we're only focused on the town. So I know that's something that was the comment. So Eric has addressed that. So we'll have updated maps in here that capture that, just so people understand the area of what we're talking about. I think some of the resources he might have looked at, some of the maps were like at a county level, but like I said, just trying to see if we can kind of just delineate it a little bit more, so it's more focused on the town while we're looking at the inventory and analysis section in this chapter.
It doesn't look like there's any mention of, sort of like bike, car share,
Yeah.
that was something
He was just saying like ride share.
Oh, maybe I'm not in the one where your comments are, sorry, I didn't see that, but I guess I'm not. Maybe I was just in.
Other people had some comments too.
There's like two folders, so I think there was two folders in that one, I'm not sure how Eric should have, I think there's like one that's like 4 comments and that says that you could put your own Word doc here. There's one in there, and I think that's where your comments and are.
So they're not on the document.
Well, there's several different copies.
Okay.
So, and I could have done it incorrectly too.
No,
but
I
I followed Neil's.
I mean,
Either way.
people didn't wanna put their comments like all in the same Word
Right.
document, they thought it was messy, that I gave them an option, they can put a Word doc in the other folder.
Okay.
That way, if people are like, here's my version of my comments, I want it separate, so.
Oh, I just use that for my overarching comments and the
Oh,
other
that's,
two, but I thought we were supposed to put them in.
no, that's helpful too, the comment log, I put, like,
Okay.
you could put your comments either, or if you don't wanna put in the Word doc and you just wanna put it, somewhere separate, like, that's okay.
Okay. But yeah, there's nothing in here about like potentially investigating expanding the rideshare stations to have something out here.
Okay.
We looked into that years ago. The town board did. There were problems, but I think some of those insurance issues maybe have gotten resolved now. So.
When you say rideshare stations, you mean like designated spot specific?
Yeah,
like,
whatever
for
it's
ride
called,
sharing?
Ithaca Car Share. Yeah.
Some spots.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people had wanted, we did a survey, people had thought like, if there could be a small truck or something like that, that was the kind of thing that people thought would be like super useful up here to be able to have access to. So there were things like that that people had suggested, and the town board looked into briefly, but there were issues.
Yeah, I could see that.
We had a lot of other
liability.
problems that were higher on the scale
Yeah.
at that time, but like now, I think it's becoming, that program.
More common, yeah.
It's also going in and out of looking through the insurance issues and other things.
They're,
and so-
yeah, they're rebuilding. I just
Yeah, they're
had a lot of
redoing it. yeah.
contact with them recently. They're
Right.
rebuilding their fleet. They're profitable.
Right.
But they have to inch back up after
Right.
that hiccup.
And there
with the
were some
insurance.
criteria with having it, a station in your town, and I'm sure it's all changed now, so I think it's worth looking into, cause. It's helpful for people who take a bus or don't have two cars, or maybe don't even have one car, but occasionally need a vehicle to go to things.
Does anyone know, how does the price of that compare to renting a vehicle for one day, for example?
I think they said it was like 7 times less expensive than owning a car, something like that. But I don't know about renting.
The trucks are less expensive to rent. That's part of why they only have like one truck. But the U-Haul vans and trucks are.
Or typically
less.
less.
But then again,
You have to go get them.
you have
Yeah,
to go get
if
the
it's
town
in
to
your
get it.
spot, and
Yeah.
So, the town could survey the public and see what kind of thing they think would be helpful, and anyway, I think that's something worth revisiting, because there was some
Or
interest in
just
that.
strengthening in that.
Yeah, revisiting in our town and strengthening it here,
What
yeah.
about for under the pollution, again, back to the waste, like the waste collection in diesel powered vehicles, it's regular. Does the town have any influence in the county's or say in how the county contracts and who they contract with and what they, there's no,
I don't think so. Like in terms of recycling and waste disposal.
yeah, like, or that, even just saying like a non-binding, we encourage the use of, greener energy,
That's not.
utility vehicles.
Yeah, we can. Go Nails.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the county. Whatever they're picking up, if it's garbage or whatever, recycling, they have a contract or they have bids, and
Right.
whatever the bid is. They can request not diesel or electric vehicles, but
But having the town say that that's their preference doesn't.
you can say it's the preference,
Yeah.
we would like to see electric vehicles, but. That doesn't mean the contract is gonna be given to somebody who has electric vehicles.
And also, I think we're seeing there's increasing challenges, particularly in cold climates, with relying on electric vehicles.
Well, the waste industry is moving to natural gas powered vehicles, which has been interesting, but yeah, just anything that's more efficient than diesel, right?
Well, they just came out with a new diesel that's supposed to be extremely clean.
Mhm.
It's not in production, it's just they made one, I guess, or two, and they said it's supposed to be much cleaner, but who knows?
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think we really have a say. We might be able to make a recommendation or make a statement that of what we would like to see. We can control what we do, so I know we are in the process of getting an EV car for the town, like, and we're looking at as new trucks, or as we need to get new trucks for like our DPW, looking at electrical or alternative gas type trucks, hybrid trucks. But I don't know if like for contracts like that, we can actually make a statement, especially if they don't have anybody that can meet those requirements. We still need our trash picked up. But we can definitely work some recommendations into this
Yeah, it's,
plan
cause
too.
the way it works in New York State is each planning unit has members, and Tompkins County is a planning unit for materials management. And the members are listed as each town. And so you'd think that each town could have some say in what that, in shaping what that looks like. How it actually works is that the small staff at Tompkins County Recycling Materials Management makes all the decisions and brings their recommendation, and I don't think they're asking anybody around the towns, but I'm not really sure how that's
I
working.
think it comes just basically down to money.
Well, I understand that, but if there's some planning, there's some explicit. I
Right, this
don't
is
know.
a plan for 20 years and it's.
Or
you think it's
intention to,
important.
yeah.
Right, yeah.
Just, or, yeah, anyway, I mean, they're a major contributor to this transportation emissions, you know, the waste. Cause they're out there. I mean, I don't know how often they're in the town, but you know, they're on their regular cycle, right? It's with recycling and waste pickup.
It'd be nice to have all electric vehicles, but.
Maybe someday we will.
Government is pushing for whole people, so. I don't think you'll see a lot of it.
But that's.
Maybe
this
not
is
in the next 20
a
years.
long-term plan, so we should have,
Yeah.
you know, aspirations and goals, and yes, we have to deal with reality, but. Of
Yeah.
the time, but we
All right,
can
well, yeah.
evolve.
Well,
I
thank you
agree
for-
with you for.
Humoring my,
Might have more control over the village of Trumansburg in terms of making recommendations than the county as a whole.
yeah, I think the reality
No,
is.
it's very important, Diane. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
I think
impact.
what will happen is different systems will be piloted. I think the way it's happening now is needs to change. It's so expensive, it's just gonna get more expensive, so.
right, so just having a statement in there about.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
All right, well,
maybe you could draft a
I'll
statement
still
for
work
that
on-
one too.
I'll work on my paragraph. I'll add something about pollution.
Well, you could add that one for transportation. Yeah.
Okay,
Like I said, I'll give folks till the 18th, to make any, give you a chance to do a deep read, add your comments. Like I said, you can either do it right in the Word document like Neil, Aaron did, or I put like a single Word document that's like a comment log that if you just kind of want to bullet out your thoughts, you have a platform to do it there as well. Whatever is your preference.
Okay.
So, but when we want to look at other people's comments, we should look at all of the document choices that are in there, I
Yes.
guess, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
So hey,
Is that-
everyone.
There you go. Anne's gonna help finish up the
Hi.
last 9 minutes of this meeting for me.
Yay. I know I've been on for, 45 minutes, but thanks Liz for getting us going.
Yeah.
And go
Well,
watch
good
baseball.
conversations. I'm gonna still listen in.
Yes. Yeah, sorry to miss, I wasn't able to be here, but I'm very happy to hear about the extension because I think this review is important. So I appreciate that. So I think our next topic, we still need to cover the community well-being component. Is that where we're at?
Yeah, I don't know how many people Angelina got to review that. If it's still like only one or two, if it's
I
We're
don't
getting
think I
into-
saw any comments, so I'm gonna get people to the 18th.
I reviewed it,
Oh, you did?
comments, but it was pretty late this afternoon, so I don't know what time you pulled.
Okay.
But I was like working right up until the time of the meeting.
Oh, okay. I pulled it at, I think at like 1:30.
Okay,
So that
so,
probably
yeah.
is fine.
So do we
I'll
need
just
to
make
talk
one
about
comment
that
then
one if
that I
it
thought
is-
was, to me, particularly as a physician, with a interest in holistic wellness, I thought there's no real mention here about addressing obesity, diabetes epidemic or the mental health crisis. And I just provided as one example, blue zone communities, and I put a link in one of my comments that you could go to the website and read about blue zone communities and you know, whether that's something we want to consider or something like that, where there's some community effort to address holistic health.
That's great. Awesome.
Well, thanks for including that, Karen. So does it sound like most people have not reviewed that one then? Is that what happens
Yeah, I
there?
think that was one that people, might need some additional time, and I just wanted to offer the same for the transportation because, it's important. I know it was a
Yeah.
lengthier chapter, so I just wanna make sure folks have enough time to take a look at that.
Yeah, it's clear, I think, that our goal of reviewing 3 each time was challenging. So
Yeah.
thanks for that extension and thanks for that addition, Karen.
Thank you.
Yeah, Angelina, was there anything else with the community well-being that you wanted to go over?
No, not really. I mean, I think, like I said, I saw earlier that there was like no comments. I figured, there wouldn't really be that much to discuss, or if somebody did happen to, take a look, we could just, go over a few comments or just some, initial thoughts on the chapter itself, and then really talk more about it probably next time.
Okay, does anyone else have any initial thoughts on that chapter, or everyone just needs more
I didn't
time?
have time to read it, yeah.
Me either.
It's a lot in one meeting.
It is a lot in 1 week, and I
Good to
think
be
that,
prepared.
yeah, I know we have a important deadline goal, but it's also important that we take the time to, get the time to do the review, so.
Right, we said that at the beginning too, Ann.
Yeah, I know.
That it's really important to do it right, even if it's gonna take longer, cause
Yeah,
we're in it.
yeah, this is it. We're doing it. So, Niels, did you have anything else on that particular, the community well-being element, or anybody else have anything they want to say before we move on?
I don't know.
Okay, so then I think the next thing on our agenda is the open house, the second open house. So this is gonna be another time. Are we expecting that all of our chapters will be completely ready and reviewed by everyone by the open house, or what is our like what's with our timing with the open house? Where are we at with that?
Yes, all your chapters, maps, documents, reports should all be ready by the open house. And vetted by all the committees, etc. And you have 2
And based
meetings.
on where we are today, yeah, based on where we are today,
We're not gonna get.
what is that?
That's aggressive.
No,
Yeah,
So I think realistically, we're probably looking at pushing the open house to November rather than October.
We
Okay,
should
thoughts on
just
that,
be
anyone?
careful. What, I'm, maybe we should try to target middle of October.
Yeah, you're right, because if
I'm
you
only
start getting
nervous.
into November, you're end of the year mess.
Well, it's the end of the year mess, but there's also elections. So,
Mhm.
including local elections, which shouldn't have any effect
True.
on the comp plan one or another. It's just where people's focus are gonna be. And I want to make sure we get people
Yeah.
out to vote and get people
I
to the
think
comp
that's
plan.
smart. Mhm.
Um,
Good point.
so I'm wondering if like mid-October might be feasible.
It's a
And
good
do we
point,
need to have-
Liz.
more meetings, I mean, it doesn't seem like enough time. With 2 more meetings. August and September, maybe October. Maybe, but that was very little time for the chapter to get revised and everything. if we discuss
Mhm.
chapters in October. It's 2 meetings, right? Unless we have.
Best way to
Do
have
we,
it political is have
so
that direction.
did, I know we talked about it earlier, and maybe you all would want to strangle me if I was in the room for saying this, but have we talked or thought about having like bi-weekly for, God, not in the summer. And even if it was virtual, I guess you have to go into the room, but a way to do the review that we could, keep a pace a little bit more than waiting until August and then September, or try to do one, our next one at the beginning, but August, and then maybe go 3 weeks. I don't know.
I think the pace is fine, but I know for me personally, it might be difficult to add additional in-person meetings if we have the option to call in.
Yeah.
That would give us more flexibility with plans that are already in place.
Yeah, well, I guess, so here's the question, do we have enough, are we gonna get through everything in 2 more meetings and then have
I don't think.
I don't see
At
how.
this pace.
I mean, if we have any substantive I mean, we still have the land use.
Capital
Chapter,
facilities, so we have 2 more that we're working on so
are those the last 2?
those are the last 2,
Land use and.
capital facilities and utilities.
And then land use, and then there's a comma, and rural. What does that mean? Is that all the one chapter?
We have it, I think, all as one chapter, that's how we had it.
So
Yeah,
land
that's
use
what
and
it's-
rural something.
Rural issues, I think it was.
Okay, it just says and rural on the agenda here, so, and it's a separate comma, so it's like it's a different thing, but it's. Well, plus the map, the future land use map that we were talking about earlier today. And that workshop thing that we talked about with having the 2 different maps, that's gonna take. A chunk of time.
Yeah, so is everyone kind of feeling in agreement that to get it all done in 2 more meetings, August and September, is not likely, or do we need to? I'm just wondering if we need to have a structure that maybe if it's not meetings, it's weekly release, review, you know what I mean? Like, just, I don't know, maybe that if we're really set on finishing in October, maybe we just have to have something more structured than getting 5 in a folder 5 days before our meeting. Like, maybe we need to have a release point each week with a deadline to review a week later, so that we can all, kind of have a rhythm to the review and get them, maybe not all in one big pile. Maybe that wouldn't work, but
Well, I mean, I don't know, I'm not being critical of anybody, cause everybody has different things that happen at different times and it's the summer, but.
yeah,
Other people weren't able to attend this meeting. Summers
Yeah.
are hard, and so
they
if
are.
it's all compressed into the time when it's really hard to, we won't have very many. Committee members here, and how important is that? I guess we should decide. Like we were talking the land use one. With the map, we really wanted to have a lot of committee members able to be present. So if
Yeah.
you have more meetings in the summertime now, I don't know how successful that's gonna be.
Yeah, I guess I'm
Schedule?
thinking, instead of like maybe not necessarily more meetings, but like every week there's a release of a chapter instead of getting all the chapters at one time. I don't know, maybe it's just me that it's hard to, but to just do it in this really condensed time frame when they all become available. Maybe it's just me. Needs more structure, so I could build that for myself, I guess. But if what we're doing is working for everyone and we think we can have 2 more meetings, then okay, that's okay. But it kind of sounds like that's not, maybe gonna work out. So what are what are our alternatives? So our options would be to have a meeting in August, a meeting in September, and we're getting everything done in those, within that time frame. Or what might the other options be if we didn't do it that way? Or do we just need to do it that way?
How much notice again do you need? Like if there's a meeting the first week in October, would that be enough time to have a meeting like around October 22nd or something like that?
For the open house?
Right.
That turns it into a political problem.
What do you
Why is
think,
that?
Niels?
Well, as far as noticing, as long as
It's right before the.
you all agree to whatever deadline you want to do, we can do an advance notice as soon as we nail down a venue.
Yeah.
So,
Well, is there a possibility of sticking a second meeting in September where we've got some lead time to try and figure out to fit it in to give us an additional space in there to try and pick up what we haven't got through?
Mhm.
School is back in session, so we're beyond the general summer stuff, but I think the possibility of sticking an extra meeting in there to give us a chance to clean up what we haven't got through would be worth trying to plan for.
If the, that's a reasonable idea, I think, Carl. I mean, if the goal is, I was just
I
trying
think
to
so too.
map all of the requirements, if the goal is to completely pass this by the end of this year, even if you have a public meeting in the middle of October, which is the earliest we're talking about, then there's gonna be certainly, because you're collecting public input, edits, right?
Yeah,
That are gonna need, and then the board is going to have to adopt a plan,
Mhm.
a draft plan that then has to go to a public hearing notice. And the county has to review it, and then.
We also
you
have
know,
seeker.
have a- Yeah, and you're gonna have to have a vote. I don't see, I mean, it would be incredibly tight, it seems to me, anyway.
You're
So-
talking about next spring.
Definitely not before election day. Yeah.
I'm saying, no, I'm saying if the goal that we're working back from is to absolutely get this completely through the town board and passed and adopted before the end of this year. I'm seeing it as
Mhm.
difficult with the legal requirements, in addition to having enough time
Miss-
to take in all the input and edit it, even with a meeting in the middle of October, a big public meeting with the whole draft. So I'm just saying
Yeah.
that, I'm saying I want to be doing this forever, but I'm just wondering if trying to force it like to this public meeting by then for that goal, we should just be aware that it seems that may not work
Does
anyways.
this have to be done by the end of this year?
Well, that was a stated goal.
That's,
It's been a stated goal because of a variety of reasons. One, we don't want to start losing comp plan steering committee members. We already are having fewer and fewer people at meetings, and I recognize that I'm not there either, but so we
you're
can't
here.
keep this going. I'm on, but I'm not there.
You're here.
You're there.
But we're getting fewer and fewer folks at the meetings, and I do realize that this summer is a very difficult time for a lot of folks with vacations, especially being the first week of summer being out. There is likely going to be new board members coming in January. Well, there are going to be new board members coming in January based off of the elections, no matter what happens. So one of the goals was just to try to wrap this up before and not give those folks thrown in the middle of a comp plan review. But it's something
Yeah.
that we might not be able to avoid either. But it's just they'll be right off fresh, not having anything to do with any of this beforehand. It might
Be a
be
lot
what
of
it is,
catching
what
up.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we also just, like I said, want to try to get this implemented and start working on the changes. So we have time
Mhm.
for our contract and to use the DEC money. We have a contract with MRB too. So we want to recognize that they can't continue working on this with us forever either.
Yeah.
So we do want to try to move this as fast as like possible. I don't mean fast, like to rush through things. We want to make sure we give it our due process and get the reviews in and make sure we do this right. So I guess I don't know if I don't think having multiple meetings this next month or two is going to work at all. But maybe in September, we might want to consider that.
We could schedule them. I mean, we could even schedule it weekly and go, you know what I mean? Like eliminate,
Yes. I cannot
like
do it.
ideally, you know,
I have to
ideally
go.
we meet once, but if we need to meet twice, then we meet twice. If we just know like we're holding, you know, potentially whatever, Wednesdays open in September to get through it. I don't know. I don't know.
I could support one more meeting in September, not every week. I cannot do that. I have a job and other things I
Me
can't.
too.
That
I do
stuff,
too.
I just can't do it. No, but I mean, I know that I can't do it, so.
Yeah,
just
no,
saying.
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm wishing for shorter meetings is what I would prefer is like a review and like a 30-minute meeting instead of a 2-hour meeting. So, but that's me. So I need to just like make myself a list and like work through this in a different way. But, I think if we schedule 2 meetings in September, we could always eliminate one if we don't need it. If we did the 3rd and the 17th, and then we're back on the 1st, we can cancel the 17th if we don't need it. Or we just do the 3rd and the 1st and we have to get it done. That's it. End of story. And we, schedule our meeting for, later middle October, would you say Neil's the 22nd?
Well, that's the date I threw out just as a random, slightly later,
Oh,
in the-
okay.
but not right at the end. More than a
Roxanne,
week
if it
ahead
was
of the
the
election.
if it was the 22nd, Roxanne or Elizabeth or like whoever's, I think it was you, Roxanne, that said earlier, like if we're moving backwards, if we come backwards from like end of the year when all the voting and the things that need to happen for this to get through its process, would a public meeting on October 22nd work, or is that also not enough time?
Not enough time for the public. But
If you get public input, then that needs to be revised, right? And probably want to have one meeting of our
Right.
committee and say, okay, we're ready to, and the town boards needs to be reading it, but say, okay, here's what we're giving you, town board. That's probably gonna take, a couple weeks, right? Between getting the revisions, having our meeting, so, the board meeting is on the 11th of November.
And
If they
Thanksgiving.
adopted it then and said, yeah, not adopted it, but said, this is the version we want to take to public hearing,
Mm-hmm.
then you have to, it takes like a week
Maybe
to schedule
2
it or
weeks,
what, the public
2 weeks
hearing.
public notice hearing.
Right, plus you have to send it off to Tompkins County to get it reviewed and
And
get their
remember, you
comments.
Right,
Right.
that's what I
Big
mean.
two,
All
which is
that,
gonna
yeah,
slow
all
it down.
that list
Right.
in terms of like, what does that actually mean in terms of like dates? So if we were going backwards
Yeah,
from December
I'm just saying, then
31st,
you're hitting November, Thanksgiving, and maybe you'll get it all back in December, and maybe everybody, the board will be ready to vote and it'll all be great on the
yeah.
9th of December or something, but
Mm-hmm.
or they'll schedule a special meeting pushing up against Christmas. I don't know, but it'll be very tight. I
It
mean,
does seem
Yeah.
realistic.
Back to like the 15th.
from my experiences when
be
I was
better.
on the town board, I don't know what you think, Niels, but it seems like.
Do you feel like, Roxanne, if that open house was on October 15th, that would give 2 weeks in October, before the election? And then there's,
I mean,
3
I don't
weeks
know, I'm
before
just-
Thanksgiving.
Ballparking all the things that have to be done after that and how long they might take.
Yeah, and I appreciate it because I know absolutely zero about like that process or how long it takes. So I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's really
Takes a
like
while.
key information. Yeah, it's key information. So I just want to try to help us get to a date here, that you think might work, because I truly don't know. And if you think like, okay, we meet on August. August
So our meeting is August, what? 6th?
6th, which is my birthday. Yeah. And then September 3rd and then October 1st.
That's
That
my
gives us, yeah, well, we
Wow,
get to
it's like
celebrate twice
we'll have a
then.
birthday cake for everyone.
Someone should get us cupcakes. And then, so October 1st would be the meeting. And then if October 15th, that would give us 3 meetings. And then October 15th was the public open house. Do you think that
How long does the?
I think
public
we need
works or
to
not
try.
really?
I think we need to try to push it, to be honest. I think that's
Push it to
mid-October.
2026?
No, no. Push it to have the
Oh.
meeting, the open house in mid-October.
Okay. Do you like the 15th, Liz, or the 22nd?
All right, well, I'll organize for that.
What days of the week are those?
Those are
Uh,
Wednesdays.
Yeah,
So then the public would have 2 weeks to read it prior to.
well, no, the chapters are gonna start.
No, the
coming
chapters
out
will
to
be
the
out.
The
public
chapters
after
will be
we
out.
release it.
Yeah,
the
the,
next
the
week.
chapters are
When
gonna be
would
out
it all
long
be
ahead
out
of
if somebody wanted to read the whole thing?
time. Is
September.
that gonna be, yeah, as
2
soon
weeks
as they're
before
done.
Well, the October 1st meeting, we're not gonna be doing any other chapters or anything.
No,
then.
we should have the chapters done in September.
The chapters
October would
have
be
to
planning.
done in
Okay,
those
so
2
there would be
weeks.
a draft available for a month ahead of the open house.
Yeah. Yeah,
Alright.
Well, so the
which should
chapters,
be enough time.
sorry, the chapters would be discussed in August 6th and then September 3rd, but then they wouldn't be edited for at least another week, right? Based on the comments we have here. So the chapters would be available perhaps optimistically in the middle of September, if we finished all the discussions. August
Mhm.
6th, September 3rd. I think.
Yeah, so if it was available for a month, if the chapters were available to the public by the 17th of September, and then the meeting, the open house was on October 15th.
I think we should put that down on paper and look at it, everybody, and I think we should try to see what we have to do to make that work.
Yeah, I think it'd be
I think
nice
it's doable.
to,
I'm not saying I think it's doable.
well, and I really do apologize for my inability to keep up with this flow. It has not been ideal for me, just with all the stuff that it's just the way it is. So I appreciate the extension. And I am definitely, for my own self, going to do like a weekly, I need to just schedule like a time every week to, and I'll figure out what that order is going to be to try to stay within everybody else's timeline. But I have small chunks available, not big, large chunks of time available right now. So. So what do we need to do right now? We're deciding on our meetings will be the first Wednesday, and then we'll do that public open house on the 15th.
I think
You-
let's put it down on paper. Let's all think about it. I think that could work.
Okay, any other input on that or insights?
Niels or Angelina, in order to
Niels?
make that work, could you kind of lay out just what month by month we're going to be looking at for the next 4 months so everybody can get a picture of it? So like just remind everybody in an email what chapters are still left to be
That'd be
done,
helpful.
when the due dates are, like time ranges is fine. You don't have to get specific, like to the day, just to make sure we're all kind of thinking of everything. And
Yep.
I'm happy to help you too with that.
Yeah, that would be really helpful for me. I need like a checklist.
And I think me just thinking out loud, we actually get lucky that there's an extra week in July. So our goal, I would say by the 23rd would be to have the other 2 chapters to you guys, to give you guys 2 weeks to review those chapters. Is that enough time?
Yeah,
For
that would be
the,
nice.
Capital facilities and utilities, and then the land use.
I just don't think we can discuss them all in one meeting.
Right, but just to have them available so that
Yeah.
you have time, you know, we're just trying to get it to you earlier rather than later, that way you,
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
okay, so I'll put that.
Okay. And you know, I guess we reevaluate when we get through July here. If we need to try to do anything different starting, you know, at our next meeting, so,
Sounds good.
okay. Anything else? Anyone have a quick member report?
Yeah.
What was that?
We all just chuckled a little.
No, no.
Oh,
No.
me too. Everybody done?
Yes.
All right, we need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, thanks, everyone. Sorry that I wasn't able to be there today.
Worries.
We'll break everything.